Stanley Hotel. The Stanley Hotel opened in 1909, built by F.O. Stanley, one of the guys who helped make the Stanley steamer car. He first came to Estes Park to try to get better from tuberculosis, and ended up loving the fresh mountain air. So, he and his wife Flora built a fancy hotel for rich people to stay at. Soon after it opened, guests and staff started reporting strange occurrences, phantom footsteps, cold spots, and the sounds of piano music coming from an empty ballroom. Many believe it's the Stanleys themselves. Flora Stanley was known for playing the piano in the music room, and visitors say she still does. But the most infamous room in the hotel is room 217. In 1911, a maid named Elizabeth Wilson was injured in a gas explosion while lighting the room's lanterns. Guests staying in room 217 have reported unpacked luggage, lights turning on and off, and even being tucked into bed. Staff members have encountered shadow figures, sudden temperature drops, and even voices calling out from behind walls. Today, the Stanley Hotel leans into its haunted reputation. It offers ghost tours, spirit investigations, and themed events. Sallie House. The Sallie House was constructed between 1867 and 1871 by Michael C. Finney. The house later became the residence and office of Dr. Charles Finney, a local physician. According to legend, a young girl named Sallie was brought to him with severe abdominal pain. Dr. Finney diagnosed appendicitis and began emergency surgery, but he started before the anesthesia took full effect. Sallie died in agony on the operating table. It wasn't until 1993 that its dark reputation gained national attention. Tony and Deborah Pickman, a young couple expecting their first child, moved into the home. Soon after, they experienced a series of unexplained phenomena: lights flickering, cold spots, and their dog growling at unseen entities. More disturbingly, Tony reported physical attacks, scratches, burns, and even being shoved, while Deborah and their child remained unharmed. The Sallie House gained attention after being featured on paranormal shows like Sightings, A Haunting, Paranormal Witness, and Ghost Adventures. Visitors and investigators have reported disturbing activity: electronics malfunctioning, batteries draining, objects moving on their own, unexplained scratches and bruises, cold spots, and even being physically touched. Some trained guide dogs have refused to enter certain rooms. Today, the Sallie House is open to the public for tours and overnight stays despite its history. Now, Raynham Hall, an old mansion in the countryside of Norfolk, England. Built in the 1600s, it holds a story of love, betrayal, and a ghostly figure known as the Brown Lady. The legend is about Lady Dorothy Walpole, whose brother was Robert Walpole, basically the first Prime Minister of Britain. In 1713, she married a man named Charles Townshend, who was known for having a bad temper. People started gossiping that Dorothy was cheating on him with a man named Lord Wharton. Because of this, her husband supposedly locked her away inside Raynham Hall and didn't let her see her kids. She stayed trapped there until she died in 1726. Some say she died of smallpox, but others believe something darker happened to her. The first time someone said they saw the Brown Lady was in 1835, during a Christmas party at Raynham Hall. A guest named Colonel Loftus said he saw a woman wearing a brown, fancy-looking dress. But what really scared him was that her eyes looked like empty holes. The ghost scared people so much that some of the workers at the house quit right away. In 1836, a man named Captain Frederick Marryat, who was friends with the famous writer Charles Dickens, stayed at Raynham Hall to see if the ghost stories were true. He brought a gun with him, just in case. One night, he saw the Brown Lady floating down the hallway, holding a lantern. Scared, he shot at her, but the bullet went right through her and got stuck in the door behind her. She disappeared without a trace. The most famous proof of the haunting happened in 1936. Photographers from Country Life magazine were taking pictures inside Raynham Hall when they caught something strange on camera. The photo showed a ghostly shape, like a woman in a long dress, coming down the stairs. It became one of the most well-known ghost photos ever. Some people think it was just a camera mistake, but no one has ever proven what it really was, whether it's a sad story about love gone wrong or a warning about being trapped and forgotten. The legend of the Brown Lady still lives on, and Raynham Hall continues to be a place people visit today. Zvikov Castle. Zvikov Castle dates back to the 1200s, commissioned by King Ottokar I of Bohemia. It was built at the meeting point of two rivers, a location believed by some to have powerful mystical energy. Deep in the heart of the castle lies the Markomanka Tower, where most of the supernatural activity is said to take place. Local legends say that animals refuse to enter the tower, especially dogs. People feel dizzy, confused, or watched. Some say they hear whispers in languages no one can recognize. According to legend, anyone who sleeps inside the Marcomanca Tower will die within a year. It sounds dramatic, but there are multiple stories of people falling ill or dying under suspicious circumstances after spending a night there. In the 16th century, servants refused to work inside the tower. Ghost hunters from all over Europe have visited the site, bringing EMF detectors and thermal cameras into the tower. Some have captured orbs, sudden energy spikes, and even voices on audio recordings. Wicklow Gaol, first opened in 1702 and was originally built to hold people who committed small crimes, rebels, and those who owed money. In the late 1700s and early 1800s, it was filled with political prisoners. Women and children were also imprisoned here. Cells were cramped, dark, and freezing cold. Diseases like typhus spread rapidly. Inmates were often starved or beaten, and the stench of death was constant. During the Irish potato famine, the prison population exploded. Some people intentionally committed crimes, hoping that jail would at least provide food and shelter. One of the most terrifying spirits is said to be that of a former jailer, a cruel man who tortured inmates. People say they feel his presence watching them in the dark or breathing down their necks. Others have seen the ghost of a young boy, believed to have died in his cell. He's often spotted in the schoolroom, staring at visitors before vanishing into the shadows. Today, Wicklow Gaol is a heritage center and museum that tells the dark story of Ireland's prison history. But while the exhibits are educational, many believe the building itself is still very much haunted by those who died within its walls. Povenglia Island. Dark history began during the Plague era. In the 1700s, as Europe was hit by wave after wave of bubonic plague, Venice made a brutal decision to use the island as a quarantine zone. Anyone showing symptoms, fever, coughing, or even suspicion of being infected, was dragged from their homes and taken to Povenglia. They were left there to die. It's estimated that over 160,000 people were dumped on the island. Some say the soil today is still 50% human ash, but that was only the beginning. In the early 20th century, a mental asylum was built on the island, supposedly to treat the mentally ill. But that was not what really happened. According to the story, the main doctor did horrible experiments on his patients. Things like cutting into their brains, using electric shocks, and keeping them alone for a long time. People say he thought the island was cursed and that ghosts were making him go crazy. Eventually, he climbed the bell tower and threw himself. The asylum closed in the 1960s, but locals say the island never quieted down. Fishermen report screams echoing from the tower at night. Ghost hunters claim to hear whispers in Latin, shadowy figures in the windows, and some have even said they felt physically pushed by something invisible. The island is now completely off limits, officially because of safety concerns. But in reality, it's because too many people never came back the same. Lawang Sewu was built in the early 1900s by the Dutch East Indies Railway Company. It served as their headquarters during a time when railways symbolized wealth, power, and control. But behind the elegance of its design, those iconic stained glass windows and grand staircases, was something much darker. During World War II, the building was taken over by Japanese forces, and that's when things changed forever. Beneath the building lies a hidden underground basement, cold, damp, and windowless. It's here that the Japanese used Lawang Sewu as a prison. Torture, interrogation, execution. All of it happened in the shadows below. One room in particular, known simply as the torture room, has become infamous. Prisoners were reportedly held in cells so small they couldn't even stand, and some were executed. Tourists and night guards have reported eerie voices echoing through the corridors, the sound of footsteps pacing overhead, only for no one to be there, and doors slamming shut on their own, even when the building is completely empty. There have also been sightings. One of the most famous ghosts is that of a Dutch woman, often seen peeking from behind one of the 1,000 doors. Her long hair flows down her back, and she's known to disappear the moment you try to follow her. Many claim to feel sudden nausea or overwhelming dread just from stepping inside. Some say they've been pushed, scratched, or even heard whispers in languages they don't understand. One viral video even appeared to show a ghostly head rising from the basement floor, a face distorted in agony. Whether or not it was real, it became enough to send locals avoiding the area entirely after dark. Today, Lawang Sewu is a heritage site. It's been restored and even promoted as a tourist destination. But despite the fresh paint and well-lit halls, the energy remains. Ask a local tour guide, and they'll warn you, never visit alone, especially at night. Monte Cristo Homes read, in the year 1885. You and your wife have just finished building your dream home, an ornate 2-story Victorian manor on a hill in rural New South Wales. You name it Monte Cristo homestead, Latin for Mount of Christ. To you, it's a symbol of hope, a legacy. You poured your soul into every brick. But over time, life faded from the halls. After your death, and once your family moved on, the house was left empty. There were caretakers here and there. But for decades, the Monte Cristo homestead slowly rotted. That is, until 1963, when Ray J and Olive Ryan bought the home, and unknowingly, brought its spirit back to life. Only days after moving in, the couple was driving home one night after attending an event. As they approached the manor, they saw something impossible. Bright lights blazed through every single window. Ray J hit the brakes. He knew the house didn't have full electricity yet, and the few rooms that did were turned off when they left. Slowly continued up the driveway. But as they got closer, the lights began to fade. By the time they reached the front door, the entire house was dark again. No lights, no sound, nothing. They both knew something wasn't right. The very next day, Olive brought their family cat into the home. The moment its paws touched the floor, it froze. Then it ran out the door and never came back. The family searched for hours, but the cat was gone. Over the following months, the Ryans' daughters reported seeing the face of a man staring through their upstairs windows. It was impossible. There were no ladders, no trees to climb. Soon, voices began echoing through the halls. Doors would slam shut. Drawers opened on their own. For years, the Ryans lived with these disturbances. They restored the Monte Cristo homestead and turned into a museum filled with antiques and relics. The house was featured in TV specials throughout the 70s, 90s, and 2000s. Paranormal investigators from around the world came to document the house. But in January 2025, everything changed. Olive Ryan passed away, and the Monte Cristo homestead officially closed its doors to the public.